This podcast is brought to you by Scott Kennedy over at State Farm. Thank you, Scott, so much for sponsoring this podcast. So amazing. Scott has this really cool deal he's got going on right now called Quotes for Good. If you go and get a quote from Scott, he will give $10 to Meals on Wheels. What an awesome thing. All you have to do is go get a quote. You don't have to go with him. You don't have to switch insurance agents. You just have to get a quote and hear him out. He may have a better deal. You never know. He's over by Daylight Donuts. Go check him out. You can find him on Facebook. Give him a call. He would love to give you a quote. Thank you, Scott, once again for sponsoring this podcast. Let's get this thing started. Welcome to another Paris, Texas, a podcast. This is a podcast where you get to listen to people's stories, people that have either influenced or lived in the city of Paris, Texas. I love hearing their stories, and I can't wait for you to hear the next guest. All right, this week's guest is someone that I've known for a little bit. I've even done a few things with him, and he's even fixed my phone multiple times. Joe Matthews, what's up, dude?
Hey, man. Good to be here this morning.
So tell everybody just really quick kind of who you are so they can put a face with a name.
All right, so, yeah, I fix stuff, and I'm the owner of iParis Cell Phone Repair. Also the owner of Tropical Snow Paris, Hawaiian Shave Ice.
Hawaiian Shave Ice.
So, yeah, I got a wife and 2 kids.
So if you've ever had your phone, because you're pretty much the only guy in town, right? Locally.
Yeah, pretty much as far as, somebody has a shop.
If you've ever had your phone done in a shop locally, fixed, repaired, and you do more than phones, you do. I think your tagline is if it gets internet, you can fix it.
Yeah, if it connects to the internet, we fix it. So, tablets, iPads, computers, whatever.
If you've ever done it, you've probably been to his shop. So that's who we're talking to today, and we're going to jump off at the beginning. Where were you born?
I was born right here in Paris. Born and raised, man.
Born and raised. Where did you go to school?
Paris.
Paris.
Yeah.
The whole time? All the way through?
Yeah. So, yeah, I moved around a little bit, like kind of the 8th and 9th grade, but pretty much from start of school, I went to Justice, and then kind of 2nd grade, I went to Aiken, and then went back to Justice and stayed there, and went to Crockett, and actually went to Travis when that was a
thing?
School.
Yeah.
It's something else now. I
Yeah,
think
I
it's
don't
the
know.
alternative school,
Yeah.
or something like that. Maybe. Might be wrong, and then went to Paris High.
What was your thing in school? Like, what were you into?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Mostly music, so that was kind of what allowed me to kind of branch out a little bit was music. I always wanted to just drum. Anytime I saw a drum set, I just wanted to just play.
Did you play in the band?
Yeah, I played with Paris High, and I was on the drum line. I played snare all the way through high school, and even went into college. Got a scholarship.
Wow. And for drumming?
For drumming.
Wow.
Yeah, went and got a full ride scholarship at the University of Arkansas at Monticello for drumming, and so.
So you weren't were you a techie person in high school?
I always loved tech, but never could afford tech.
Yeah.
I came from a very poor family, and so I always enjoyed it from the comfort of other people's home. And then really kind of found that I was pretty good at fixing stuff, and ended up kind of doing some stuff in college, and fixed the first phone I ever fixed when the first iPhone came out. The very first iPhone came out, and a football player on the he was a friend of mine, and he was on the team there at the university, came up to me and was like, "Hey, man," because he knew I tinkered with stuff and fixed stuff from time to time, enjoyed technology, and he's like, "Do you think you can fix this?" And I was like, "I don't know."
I'm gonna try.
He's like, "Well, I found a place that I can buy the parts." He's like, "It can't get any worse than what it is. If I buy the parts, do you think you can try?" I was like, "Sure, man, I'll try." Well, I tried, and I fixed it. He's like, "Dude, I know how you can make some money in college. He's like, I got a ton of friends on the football team that all have broken phones. I was like, cool. Well, let's try. And so I kind of made some money through that.
What college was this?
University of Arkansas.
Okay.
At Monticello.
Awesome.
So it's kind of southern Arkansas.
So you started fixing phones.
So I started fixing phones a little bit through college, just to kind of make a little extra money. Not a whole lot, and not a whole lot of people knew that I did it, but a few people did, and that was kind of towards like the end of my college career. And then I came back
to Paris.
And took on a ministry job, and was a youth minister for like almost 7 years.
Wow.
And of course, in youth ministry, you make like no money, or at least I didn't make any money, like $1,000 a month. So you can only live off that for so long.
Yeah.
And so.
Had you met your wife yet?
Yeah. So my wife and I are high school sweethearts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. So. Yeah, I guess I can back it up a little bit.
Yeah, jump back to that. I don't want to miss that. That's some good stuff there.
Let's back it up. I'll back it up even a little bit more, and kind of, so we can kind of, see kind of where we are today, and because it all kind of connects. But so I grew up incredibly poor.
Mm-hmm.
My parents love them, but made terrible decisions. Through their life, and addiction played a part in that, and so it was a kind of a crazy upbringing.
Yeah.
And then there was we didn't know if we were going to have electricity this month or water this month. There was most of the time that we didn't have water, or we didn't have electricity, or
one of them was missing.
One of them were missing, or both. And so I kind of grew up pretty shy, mostly because I felt very inadequate and very like, man, everybody else has
everything,
and really all they had was like electricity and some food in the refrigerator.
But to you, that was everything.
I thought, gosh, man, y'all are so rich.
Yeah.
And then as a grown man, I look back at the houses that they lived in, and I thought they were like so rich, like, and I'm like, oh, they weren't. I was just really poor. Man, but the great thing about my parents is there wasn't a day that went by that they didn't tell us they loved us.
Mm-hmm.
They just made bad decisions, and addiction has a way to just take control over people, and not even to their own fault, but it's just a sickness, and it's a demon, and the devil's good at what he does, and so he controls people very well with those type of things, and anyway, kind of growing up, I was pretty didn't want to really step out and be much of anything. I didn't really have any dreams, other than I didn't want to be what my parents were, not what they were, but more of, I didn't want to live this way.
Mm-hmm.
So my only goal in life was not to be a tech repair guy or whatever, or be a minister or anything. Even though my grandmother prophesied over me my whole life, even when I was atheist, she called me her preacher man. And of course, I never had a heart to tell her that I was atheist in high school. And that was kind of due to like church hurt.
Mm-hmm.
If you're any familiar with that,
very familiar.
Churches
with
can
that.
be a little hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're kind of catching on to that now. I hope so. Anyway, I think we're a little bit more sensitive to, hey, like even the little conversations that you have with people.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a leadership role, you need to be careful what you say.
Yeah.
Because it can leave a lasting impression, even if it's just in passing.
And not even what you say sometimes, and how you say it. Like, people
100%.
can be so hateful sometimes and not even know that they're being hateful.
Yeah.
And that goes beyond just church employees or church staff or church volunteers. I mean, that's just anyone. Like, it's so much. Sorry, I don't mean to take over here.
Go ahead.
It's so much. There's negativity and hatred goes so much further than positivity.
Yeah.
So I feel like people like you and me have to be doubly positive to overtake anything that one person says negative. And I just hate that happens.
Yeah, and that's how we are by nature. We cling to the, to the words that are criticism, are hurtful more than we cling to the.
True.
I probably, in hindsight, I probably had more people encouraging me than I did discouraging me as a child. But it's the discouraging things that you really stick to. And so kind of growing up in the church, the church knew my family. And so felt really like I heard a lot of, you're going to be just like your parents, and you are the product of your upbringing was the biggest lie I was ever told in my life. And there's a little bit of truth to that, but it's not a whole lot for me, because
if you let it be,
you let it be, yeah. You do have the power to change that, and I wasn't told that I had the power to change. I was just told I am the product of my upbringing. You're going to end up in jail and all this kind of stuff, which played a big effect on my life, kind of growing up. And I always felt like, and I think a lot of people relate, but I always felt just not good enough to make anything of myself. And then I went through a stage in high school where I was atheist. So I went to church, and then I was like, man, forget church. I had this lady at the church though, who was that one person who
never gave up,
kept inviting me, kept calling me, kept wondering why are you not here? Her name is Shirley Spencer. She's actually I don't know if you know her, but she's pretty well known in this kind of area, and they have Spencer's RV.
Yeah.
So her name is Shirley Spencer. She played a huge role in it wasn't like we spent a ton of time together, but it was every time I saw her, she hugged me and made me feel welcome and
loved.
Made me feel loved. And for me, that was the most important thing, period, is to feel that way. So thankful for her, because that was the only good that I felt from church for a while. And then I went through a stage in high school where my brother was my oldest brother, he was pretty outspoken atheist. I was a secret atheist. So I didn't tell anybody, but there was a couple of years where I was like, man, if God is real, how could I be going to these things?
Yeah.
Which is, I think, a question a lot of people ask. And then something changed. So I met my wife now, but met Lauren in band. Actually, we had been in bands together since 6th grade, but I had never noticed her until one day we're doing this thing out in the parking lot at the old high school. This is now the junior high. And she's in front of me, and my friend next to me, who's also plays snare, he was like, man, I think I'm going to try and talk to her. And I was like, talk to who? And he's like, to Lauren. I was like, who's Lauren? And she was right in front of us. That she played flute, and they were usually the flutes aren't right next to the drums. Ever.
They're usually not.
You can't hear them.
Okay.
You can't hear the flutes over the drums.
Yeah.
But she was in this little portion of the show, and
because y'all walk around. This is marching band,
we march
right?
around, outside. And so I was like, oh yeah, she is kind of cute. And so it kind of became like a competition. And so Does
she know this?
She does now. I mean, yes, we've had this conversation, since, but
okay.
Yeah, she knows. And she just laughs about it. But so my friend Jazz, he was like, well, let's go sit by her on the bus when we go to the football game, and we'll see.
Yeah.
I was like, deal. So we sit behind her and her best friend.
And this is you and your best friend.
He's not my best friend, but he's just he's
really
a good friend.
Yeah.
And so we kind of start talking to her, and thankfully she responds better to me. And then we start. That's kind of the first conversation that we've had.
And this was junior?
This was junior year in high school.
Okay.
And we kind of talked on the bus a little bit, and then after that, we kind of just talked some more, and ended up dating, and I won. Clearly.
Clearly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put a ring on it.
You put a ring on it and everything.
So, we went, through high school and college and stuff. Kind of
Now,
off and on a little bit.
Were y'all long distance through college?
Yeah. So she went to SFA.
Okay.
So Stephen F. Austin.
Yeah,
In Nacogdoches. And of course, I was in Arkansas. So we're about 6 hours away.
Okay.
Which was
Hard. Yep.
Very hard. And there was, about like 9 months that we were kind of separated and stuff, and then we just kept finding, coming back to each other, and
Yeah.
I knew. Now it was her. It was all her the reason why we were separated. She was lost as a goose, and I just couldn't. I was trying to point her in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I kept trying to trick her. Like,
yeah.
I'm better than what you think.
I'm better. Yeah.
I'm better than what I think. I'm just tricking you.
Yeah.
That's what I tell her. I just tricked you the whole time until I
Yeah.
put a ring on it, and so now you're mine
Sealed
now.
the deal, yeah.
But we just kind of kept coming back to each other, and I knew the moment that on that bus.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, it's like the craziest thing, but I knew, like, I want her to be my wife, and that's a weird thing to even say, like,
Yeah.
as a
Especially
junior
in high school.
but she checked all the boxes for me.
Okay.
And so she invited me to church, and that's the church that I actually came back and was on staff
Oh,
with,
wow.
and still on staff with, actually, to this day.
Awesome.
But she said, so I stood her up the first time at church. I didn't come, because this is when I, didn't
This
believe
was-
that
yeah.
there was even God. And I was mad. I wasn't, probably more so, it wasn't that I didn't believe in God. I was just mad at God.
Yeah.
And she said, if I don't date guys that don't go to church. I said, oh, well, that's a first.
That's the first.
So the next Sunday I showed up
Yeah.
because I wanted a shot. And, man, the moment I walked in the door, I felt a kind of love that I wasn't used to, and it was a little bit overwhelming. And, like, every person there, I looked sketchy. I was a skateboarder.
Yeah.
I had long hair, baggy clothes. Probably hadn't showered. But when I walked in, man, I got like a lot of hugs and a lot of people that were just like, genuinely, I'm glad that you're here.
Wow.
And had conversation with me. And, man, I got told that they loved me.
They barely
Like the
even-
very first time I met them,
Yeah.
I got told that like probably 20, 30 times from different people
That was
morning.
something that was missing.
And that was something that I was like, okay, this makes sense to me, how church should be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this totally makes sense. I've never felt that before. So if this is church, I like this.
Right.
And so I kept coming back, and the pastor, Diana, she was like, she kind of kept asking me, are you here for Jesus or are you here for Lauren? And of course it was Lauren. I would say Jesus, but it wasn't Jesus at all. I was here because Lauren was cute.
Yeah.
But then it became Jesus.
Yeah.
And so that kind of changed everything for me. I'm the kind of guy that I was like legit. I was lost, and I came to know the Lord, and it was everything in my world changed like instantly for me.
Wow.
It was like I didn't want anything to do with anything else but Jesus. And so
Heart change.
complete, and not like, some people hear that and they go, oh, you're just perfect overnight. And not like
No.
that, but it was like all my desires from the day before to the day after were completely different. I had
Yeah.
a totally different desire for everything in life. And that was kind of the start of realizing that all the voices in my head of you're not good enough and you're not this and you could never be successful and you could never have a great wife with great kids and have a, and be able to live a life that is worthy of anything. All that started to change because the voice started to change.
Yeah.
And so I think we have to be careful of what we listen to, even what sounds like our own voice sometimes isn't really our own voice. It's the devil talking to us because he comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And he's not. Sorry, I'm preaching. We're talking about my life, but
No.
But that's kind of my life, man.
If
So-
it applies, it applies.
So, I think it's important for us to just understand what voices are God's voice and what voices are the devil's voice, and even what voices are our own voice, and kind of discern those things. And it's taken me a long time to get better at that, and I'm still working at that. But man, when I went to college, I had a mindset. So I was always this shy kid, and I never really got to discover anything about me because I was always too afraid to do anything. It was like I was frozen because of what anybody thought. I didn't want anybody to have any more thoughts about me because they've always been negative. And so I was just like, well, if I just don't do anything, nobody will have a thought about me, and I won't have to deal with any of that. Nobody can be negative. Nobody can be positive. It'll just be nothing.
You're trying to be
I was trying to be invisible.
Yeah.
The Lord had other plans, which I'm grateful for. And that really wasn't me because I really had all these dreams. And once I kind of knew who the Lord was and start to feeling like I could dream, I had more ideas in a second than a person probably has in their whole life. I mean, and you're probably the same way. You come up with tons of ideas for stuff. I mean, we even in the brief times that we have gotten to talk, just for a few, even at the Paris Fest, just I mean, we were like
bouncing
this
back
idea and that idea and this idea. I'm like, this guy is just like me.
That's my favorite part of the creative process of making film or making whatever I do creatively is the think tank brainstorm part at the beginning.
It's the best.
Where and you have to come it's an art form. People may not think so, but you have to come into it knowing that just because I have an idea doesn't mean it's the best idea. But my idea might spark an idea in you, and then you'll one up it, and then I'll one up that, and then together after about 20 minutes of one-upping each other, we come up with the coolest idea ever. And there's that's what we need to do. That's my favorite part of the whole creative process.
I love that too, man. That just excites me.
Yeah.
And, those are the things that kind of get me fired up. And
it's actually hard for some people because they'll have an idea and they'll immediately think that they're, I'm not pointing fingers towards any specific person, but they'll immediately think that idea is the best idea. Oh, yeah. So when their idea gets shot down, or not even necessarily shot down, gets one-upped, they either get real mad because no, that's not what my idea was. I wanted to do it this way. Or they get mad, or it gets shot down and they're just mad because they didn't, they thought it was a really good idea. I actually thrive off the okay, one up each other. If you can one up me, bring it.
Yes.
I don't love when people shut you down and not even consider it.
Right.
Because it's wait a minute, at least give it a chance. Can you think if you're gonna shut me down, at least give either a one up or this would be a better way completely to do it, opposite direction or something. Anyway,
more of kind of a maturity thing.
Yeah.
Thinking that is, for probably the most men starting off, we think that all of our ideas are the best ideas ever, and nobody can say anything.
No.
I can relate to that, man. I was like, you guys are wrong and I'm right. So, but I think over time you realize, I'm probably wrong more than I am right.
Yeah.
Actually, I am wrong more than I am right, but those right ones are good.
Gold.
Those are solid. So, yeah, man, I love that creative process. And that kind of, when I moved into that, so when I went to college.
What did you go to college for?
For music.
For music?
At first, I went for music. And I decided when I had left Paris, you know what? I just want to be who I feel like God's created me to be. And I want to figure out who that is because I really didn't know who that is. And I'm still figuring out who that is to this day.
Right.
So people who hear that oh man, I wish I could figure out who I am. Well, man, I'm 32. I still don't really know who really totally God's created me. I know He's created me to love Him and He's created me to love people. And then I guess you fill in the blank wherever.
Oh yeah, and when you find the right direction, and then you just move in that direction.
Yeah, you just move close. You just move really.
Right.
If you would just move, you'll find that.
Right.
A little better and a little more and more every day.
For me, I feel like I know I'm a creative being. He made me to be creative. If I'm not doing something creative, I get depressed.
Yeah, and you probably had to you probably had to go and move in the direction of creativeness to figure out, this is what I'm good at.
This is what I love. And now as long as I'm moving in that direction, things are great. But I feel like people try to force a direction and it may not be the right direction.
Yeah. Because we live in here's the reason I my opinion of why I think that's such an attractive thing, because we get on social media, we get on something, and we go, everything in this person's life and
Is
that's
perfect.
doing this is so perfect. Even their babies' faces are perfect in every picture. And then we get like this wrong view of, we get like the snapshot of what their
Right.
life is, but they don't realize that, man, I took 47 pictures of my baby for him to look that perfect.
I
Or-
hired a professional to come in and
yeah,
take pictures.
I hired a professional to come take pictures of me feeding my baby, or, or whatever it is, and so we feel like, oh man, they've got it all together. Why don't I just imitate that?
We set this unachievable standard, like that.
Yeah.
We like every moment of my day has to be like at the level of this pictures or these pictures
Yeah.
for it to be perfect. And if it's not, then my life's not worth anything.
Yeah. Here's the crazy thing. I even know those things. Like, I know the truth of that, but still I can find myself
Lost
doing
in
the
it.
same thing, And so there is something in us that just, that wants to strive for better or whatever. But I think you have to find, your unique.
Well, now as like business owners, you look at other businesses and you're like,
Oh man.
why is my business not doing as good as
Yeah.
their business is
Why did
doing?
they
I can
have-
do the same thing. I can
Yeah.
do that. Why?
Yeah. No, I think that all the time. I think I could do everything that everybody else can do, which is a blessing and a curse.
Right? So yeah, it's definitely a challenge. All right, so you went for music, but what'd you land on?
So then I'm 3 years into a music degree. Actually, I only have one Theory 4 class and one internship left on my college degree, and I would have a degree in music. But it's a 6-month internship. No way
Yeah.
I'm doing that in my life. And then
'Cause you got plenty of free
semester
time for that.
Theory 4, yeah. I have plenty of time. Said no business owner ever.
Yeah.
So I got so close, and then, man, just kind of growing in my faith with the Lord and kind of realizing, who I felt like I was really, the direction I was really kind of called in, ended up being more like ministry at that point. And just because I like talking to people. So I changed it to speech and mass communications.
Okay.
And then probably a year and a half after that, I just quit school altogether.
So
So
you
I don't have a degree in
You
anything.
don't. Oh.
I have a lot of classes that I took 4.5 years of college and have nothing to show for it other than some friendships. But I just needed that. I needed to get away, and
Yeah.
it's for me. It's okay that I don't have a degree. I mean, like I said, I had a full ride for music, which paid for a lot of my school, and I took out some student loans just because I wanted to live.
Above.
I lived off some of those. So that's a terrible idea, by the way. If anybody's listening, wanting to take out student loans, man, just work. Just go find a job and don't do it.
Yeah.
If you can, find a school that's cost efficient. Go to PJC. Do it that way.
Yeah.
Student loans will drain the life out of you.
I hear that from so many people.
It
They're
does, man.
'cause you'll
Golly.
wind up paying them off forever.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can. I mean, that's what you do when you sign a contract that's at 49% interest, and you don't know what you're doing because you're 18, and
Oh.
hey, we'll give you a refund check for $3,000 if you just sign here. No, knowing that $3,000 is going to cost you $18,000 for the rest of your life. It's
Crazy.
But I digress. What were we talking about?
Okay.
Stinking Sally Mae.
So you left college, came back home.
I left college. I actually got offered a youth ministry job in Arkansas. I called my pastors here and I was like, "Hey, can you guys just kind of talk me through this? I just want your opinion on it." And they were like, "Yeah, why would you take a ministry role there when there's one open here?" I was like, "Oh, that's okay. I didn't know."
Even better.
Even better, because my Lauren I know that she would be. I think at that time, I don't know if we were dating at that time or maybe separated, but I just knew I wanted to be wherever she might potentially be.
Yeah.
And so that played a big role. That always played a role. Which I'm thankful for. But so I came back and took the youth ministry job.
Yep.
Here in Paris, and man, just fell in love with students, and felt like gosh, man, this is like the best thing ever. I could do this for the rest of my life. And I really, if they could pay me enough, I would probably still be doing youth ministry if I were going to be 100% honest. But, it's just not in the cards. I mean, I just love students. I just love that age group of 6th through 12th grade of where they're just kind of finding themselves, because I find myself in that so much.
Yeah.
Like, and still I get, you get criticized from all ends of the spectrum, but to just know that, hey, man, other people's words, they don't know you. Even if they think they know you, even if they're a close friend, they don't really know your heart. God knows your heart. Listen to him more than anybody else. And that's going to always lead you to a better place.
So is it you being the person that you needed when you were their age?
Yeah. I want to be that. I want to be a Shirley Spencer.
Yeah.
If I could, if she probably won't listen to podcasts. Maybe she will. I don't know. Shirley's kind of old. Shirley, you're old if you listen to this.
I've been trying to get
love you.
People, this is basically talk radio.
It's talk radio.
I guarantee she grew up on talk radio, and if she would just listen to this, she would fall in love with, like, oh yeah, this is just like what I used to listen to. But she's got to figure out how to open her podcast app.
I'll just bring her to iParis, and I'll download the app for her.
We need to do, just side thought, talking about brainstorming. We should do another episode, or a video even maybe, that talks about how to find podcast app.
Yeah.
So
or just how to properly turn on and turn off your device. Because this is people think I just fix phones all day long. No, I answer questions like that all day. I think there was a post, I think we just kind of made, light fun of some of the awesome customers that we have.
Yeah.
What we think is kind of a simple thing, but for them sometimes it's a struggle.
So I've always wanted to do a really good, I hesitate to call it tutorial video, but basically a tutorial video that helps people and guides them to because if you own a iPhone, which I'm telling people who are already listening to this, but if you own an iPhone, you have a podcast app. The end.
Automatically.
You
just download it.
When you turned it on, it's already there. All you have to do is search Paris, Texas, and it's there.
Pops right up.
It pops right up.
It's just the craziest thing ever.
It's crazy how many people I've had to show that actual, it's like you said, it seems like a really simple thing to me and my generation.
Right.
But it's something that I would love in a tasteful way be able to do a tutorial that shows people who don't know that.
Well, I get asked that, at least once or twice a day of, can you just do a class? And, if I've thought long and hard about that, but I think probably doing a video class and and then you have to teach them how to run the video. So I don't know.
Well, okay.
I have to do a slideshow and bring them into iParis and put it on the wall.
This is getting offhand, but what we need to do is make a tutorial YouTube and then lock it, and then when people call we charge them for access to tutorials, and then we send them the link or embed the video in an email to them, and boom.
There we go.
We're making money.
Yeah, and if you can't open an email, we're gonna send it to you on a floppy disk, and you're in the mail.
Yes.
So.
Yep. Or a carrier pigeon.
Yeah, carrier pigeon
with a
even
floppy
better.
disk attached to it.
That's right. Yeah, we'll do smoke signals.
Oh gosh. Sorry, where were we?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're back here. You're doing youth ministry, which is amazing. When did the wife come back into? When did Lauren come back into?
So when I came back, we were together, and I was here for probably maybe half a year, and I proposed, and she graduated that next semester.
Yep.
And so she moved back, and then we got married. And
how'd you propose?
So I wrote a song.
Oh, that's a good one.
I wrote a song, and I did it so our favorite kind of actor at that time was Adam Sandler.
Yes.
You know how he does those funny little songs?
Yes.
They're kind of goofy, and so I wrote it kind of like that.
Love it.
Kind of how he would.
Is this recorded somewhere?
It's not recorded anywhere. I do have the song still. I have it written down.
How many years?
Oh man, see, 7 years or 8.
This should be like a 10-year anniversary thing. Yeah. We should make a music video.
All out music.
All out music video, and that's your 10-year. That's your 10-year present
goal.
Tour.
Yeah, I don't know that it was that great though.
We'll make
But
it
she
great.
said yes, so
So it was good
I
enough.
could probably change some things.
Yeah, now that you've had a few more years on you,
Yeah,
you
add
probably
the
could
kids.
tweak it a little bit,
Oh, yeah.
add some
That's a
new
fantastic idea.
life. But it has the ode to what
Yeah.
it was.
Yep.
That's a
So,
great idea.
I wrote her a song, and I had this whole thing planned out. I was gonna take her on this picnic. I
Yeah.
bought all this kind of food, and had this song. I was gonna pull out this guitar, and I was gonna play this song, and just melt her heart.
Yeah.
Right. And so when it came to me like picking her up, she's like, "I don't really feel that good. Can we just stay at home?" I was like, "No, we can't stay at home. I got a picnic in the truck waiting for you." And I planned all this stuff out. I did it out by the lake. I already had the spot
Yeah.
planned out. I had even had some stuff out there,
Like
so I
station.
didn't have to carry everything.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Man, can we just order some pizza and just kind of like hang out here?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And she was like for real, did not want to go anywhere. And so I was like, "All right." So change of plans. I ordered a pizza, and I was like, "Well, can we at least like go and eat it in your backyard?" Because she,
Yeah.
at her parents' house, they had a pretty backyard, and so I was like, that's gonna be better than just like being on the couch.
Yeah.
So we went outside, and I was like, "Hey, this is kind of weird, I know, but I just wrote this song." I didn't know how do you bring that up? Like,
Yeah.
I've never sang a song for her or played a guitar, specifically just for her.
Yeah. Song Saturday. We'll
Song
do it
said,
again.
"Hey, we got pizza, and I feel like singing you a song today."
Yeah.
So I pulled this guitar out, and I sing this song, and the very last words were, "Will you be my wife?" And then she loses it. I'm like losing it kind of through the ending part of the song.
Yeah.
And I, and
awesome.
of course she says yes. And so, but that was kind of the proposal. And anyway, we went. So from there, fast forward a little bit, we went and did ministry together. She was like the organizer, and I'm the go out there.
Dreamer.
I'm the crazy one.
Yeah.
I found my voice. And we did that for almost 7 years, and then in that we had some kids, and of course with a family comes financial responsibilities, and
Yep.
and so we had to kind of readjust some things, and I thought, you know what, I have this skill of fixing things. I just feel like, why would I have this skill if I couldn't use it to help my family, and also help the community? Because at that time, everybody was having to drive to Dallas to get their phone fixed,
Yep.
or meet the sketchy person in the car to get the phone fixed, or go to said sketchy person's house, or have them come to your house.
Yeah.
It's just
All bad ideas.
all bad ideas.
Yeah.
So we had no money at all. We had maybe a couple $1,000s saved up to our name, over 2 years. That's about all we could save. And so I'm like, look, let's buy a little shack, the portable buildings.
I remember the
You
shack.
remember the shack?
Yep.
So I couldn't afford the shack. I had a really, really good friend of mine go, "I believe in you and I love you so much. I'm going to give you the rest of the money to start this." His name is Luke Finch. You probably know
Oh,
him.
I love Luke.
So Luke,
Old Young Life guy. Yeah.
Young Life guy. The only person who believed that I could do what I am doing currently was him. Fully, put his money where his mouth is.
Yeah.
And he goes, "My wife and I believe so much in just you," and they asked nothing in return. I paid them back, of course, and they just said, "We just believe in you, and we just want you to be able to do the thing that we feel like the Lord's calling you to do right now." And they gave me the rest of the money, and I put up this little shack, and Joey Copeland built it at half the cost of what it was normally supposed to cost. He just did. He was like, "Man, I believe in you too," and did that. And then Tracy Crawford, Crawford Electric, he did the electricity for me, and he was did it for a fraction of the cost as well. So all these people, for no reason other than they just believed that I could do this.
Yeah.
Which is a new thing for me, especially at that time. Did these things for me, and I've gotten to develop relationships with some of these people even throughout the years, and even Tracy like Crawford, I still talk to him every now and then, and he's just always just been such an encouraging guy. And so we put the shack up. We got the money to put the shack up, and I was like so excited. I was like, man, this is awesome. And I didn't know if it was going to work. I didn't, because sometimes Paris just doesn't accept things.
Yeah.
Or
it's really hot for like a month, and then it just goes away.
Yeah. Or my fear was, I grew up in this town, and man, people just continue to think about you the same way they thought about you 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And my fear was, what if my hometown doesn't accept me? The place I grew up. What if they don't? Because they hadn't for
a long time. But then it kind of felt like they were starting to. And then I thought, that was my biggest fear. That's that voice again that I'm telling you about. That, it's overpowers
usually not
positivity.
really true, but it's like, it just cripples us.
Yeah.
So I had constantly people reaffirming like, hey, I think this is a good thing.
Yeah.
Let's just do it. And so as soon as I got into the mindset of let's just do it, that became my like motto.
Yeah.
Let's just do it. And I've kind of lived by that. Like I've put some thought into stuff, but I love to just do things. I love to build things, and I don't really like to maintain things. But I love to build things, and I love to bring new ideas and new things to the table. That's what makes me really excited. So we started doing phone repair in this little shack, and that lasted for like 3 or 4 months, and we were like, there's no way we can keep up because it got overwhelming. I mean, we ended up, people saw. First of all, I didn't think anybody was going to bring a phone to a little shack.
Yeah.
But they did, and that was exciting for us. And
it had a different name back then, though, didn't it?
It was iParis smartphone and iPad screen repair service. Okay. So I was like, in my mind, I was like, if I just tell them everything that we do in one title,
yes,
that'll be simple.
It'll be simple.
iParis was not a simple name. I thought, hey, if iPhone, iParis, people thought it was Iparus. They thought since I put a phone with like a little red cross for like phone medic, like we fix phones. Yeah. I thought that was clever. That confused people. They thought we were like a medical supply company.
Branding is so hard.
And I was like, how do people not get this? iParis, iPhone. So I simplified it to iParis cell phone repair. And then you fill in the blank,
Yeah.
Kind of our saying is, we fix that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, do you fix this? Yeah, we fix it. If it connects to the internet, we'll fix it.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, I ended up moving to a little bit bigger space that was still kind of small, but in a better location over by Super 10 and On Call. On that, there on Collegiate in Lamar.
Yeah. Kind of across from PJC-ish.
Yeah. Well, no. Over by People's Bank.
Oh, okay.
So
I see. Oh, good. That's the Super 10.
So pretty
I'm
much
thinking of a different Tanner place.
Yeah, you're thinking of a different place. But pretty much like right across the street from where we currently are.
Okay.
But kind of we ran our course in that space and wanted a little bit bigger space to be able to offer more things for our customers and community. Moved over to the Tejas Plaza, which is where we are now. Mm-hmm. Kind of the same shopping center as Paris Coffee. Everybody knows Paris Coffee.
Yes.
So we just reference them, and we spend all our money with them too. So
yeah.
But
well, and another great thing about that is like literally in the time, just plugging you a little bit here, in the time it takes someone to walk from your shop to Paris Coffee, get a drink, sit down, check their Facebook for 5 minutes, and then walk back, you can have
their phone fixed.
They're going to have the most of the stuff that they're going to get fixed.
Yeah. And that's what we pride ourselves on, is making sure that we understand, your phone is your lifeline.
Mm-hmm.
For most people that have a phone, and we want to get it back to you as fast as we can. And so we try to do it as fast as we can, being as professional and thorough as possible. And so we're grateful that we get to feel that need in our community that was needed for a while. Kind of everybody says Paris is 5 years behind the current trend. So
I say that all the time.
I believe that as well, but I also feel like there's a change kind of coming.
Yes.
Paris is catching on to, hey, we don't have to wait 5 years to catch up with Dallas.
Yeah.
Like, Dallas is just 2 hours away. somebody in Paris is smart enough to bring that here.
And it takes creative-minded people like ourselves, I feel like, that do it, and it takes those people like the people that backed you, supporting people that have an idea.
100%.
Love it.
That's a huge thing, man. Be around people who encourage you and not discourage you.
Yeah.
If you can do that, you'll be successful.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with those kind of people, and you'll do whatever your heart desires.
True.
So there's a lot to be said in just the words of people and the words of the devil. So
awesome.
I guess you can title this Voices.
Voices.
So anyway, now we have a couple kids, and we're rocking and rolling with iParis and Tropical Snow
Tropical
as well.
Snow, which is close to downtown, almost on the square by the splash pad.
Splash pad.
Yep.
The splash pad. So actually, Tropical Snow's been in Paris for almost 35 years.
Really?
Yeah, it's like a staple in Paris. So it was originally in Marabout. So people who grew up like myself, we grew up going to that snow cone stand, Tropical Snow, in what was Marabout, now Paris Town Center.
Yeah.
That was the place to go. Like my grandma would be like, honey, we're not going anywhere else but this snow cone stand, because it was the best. It had real Hawaiian shave ice. So I grew up eating that snow cone. Never thought I'd ever own it, but it came up for sale actually like 2 months after I started iParis, and people were like, you're so dumb for not only starting one business but then buying another one and starting two. What's wrong with you? People don't understand my mindset, though.
No, I've been there.
So, people always say to me, you got too many irons in the fire. And I go, you don't have enough irons in the fire.
Yeah.
My goal is not to just do iParis and to do Tropical Snow. It's to impact
this community
and the people that I love
as
much as possible in the short amount of time that I have.
Yeah.
And you got to realize you got a short amount of time. You got to move, baby.
And these are things that need people doing them, and they need people of our creativity and of our age, because if we are a large older community. It's if you don't have people of our age starting businesses, then in 25 years
there's nothing.
There's nothing.
Yeah. Or it's the same.
Yeah, or it's the same.
Constantly. And now we go through another generation of the same old thing. And that's how towns die.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a part of that, and I don't want Paris to be a part of that. And so it's here's the scariest thing. Like, we get awesome people that come through Paris and really make an impact, and then they leave.
Yep.
And then we're like, oh, man, they were so special. We probably should have pushed them a little better and loved on them a little better.
Supported them
a little better instead of taking so much advantage of them.
Yep.
And we just ran them away.
Yep.
And I've seen it time and time again, and I hate that feeling. And so, yeah, when you run across somebody that really they're special and can bring some great things to our community,
build them up,
love them well.
Yes.
And don't just do it for selfish motives, but go out, genuinely love them well, support them, and encourage them to build their life here. And I'm not saying going off is such a bad thing, but man, I love Paris so much that I feel like everybody should love Paris as much as I do.
Yes.
And for the most part of my life, I'm talking 90% of my life, I hated Paris. And so the last 10% of my life, now that I have a voice and I, feel like I have a call, and I realize that not everybody's voice matters in my ear. Like, I don't have to listen to everybody. Everybody has a voice, and their voice matters. Don't hear me wrong on that. But it doesn't have to define me.
Yeah.
Whether it's good or bad, it may not be true.
Yeah.
And so,
agreed.
Listening to the voice of the Lord, and if you don't believe in the Lord, I don't know, listen to the voice of
reason
of CNN or something, or Fox. I don't know. Whoever you listen to.
Of positivity.
I'm just kidding, but don't listen to those. No, those are not positive ever, are they?
Yeah, listen to the voice of positivity, man. That's something that's just been on my heart lately for a community. I hate seeing so much. I hate seeing negativity have such a loud voice. And I realize that it's going to take double the amount of positivity to squash that negativity. Yeah. But I just encourage people to be positive and build up your community, whether that's supporting one person like you've been supported, or whether that's getting involved in your community. Find a way to build that positivity in whatever realm you're in inside of Paris, Texas.
Absolutely. That reminds me of a book I read like probably 10 years ago. It's called Punch Fear in the Face by Jon Acuff.
That sounds like an awesome book.
It's an awesome book. You should read it. Punch Fear in the Face. And one of the main things he talks about is how you can have 100 comments of how, I put a product out, or for me, like say on iParis's Facebook page, we could have 200 people that say, man, best service I've ever had. They did so awesome. And then there's that one person that comes in like, never take your stuff to iParis. They suck and all this kind of stuff. And you're like, oh my gosh, that like they're just saying that because maybe they had a bad experience. Or I promise you though, if anybody's ever come to iParis, let me just say this. If you come to iParis and you had a bad experience, it's because you did not come back and talk to me. Because I take care of every person that comes to iParis. So if that's you. Take that off my page and come back to iParis and let me take care of you.
Talk to you, yeah.
Yeah. And that most business people are like that.
Let's address it, yeah.
But we live in like a world like, most people are used to attacking big corporations. So when you attack a small business, you don't realize how personal it is.
And how much harm it can do.
And even just like mentally to myself, for the longest time, man, I was like, to a fault, I was like, I have to just make sure
I have to fix it.
Everybody loves me. I have to make sure everybody loves me.
Yeah.
And then you realize, like, okay, not everybody's going to love me.
Yeah.
And they're just not. And I have to be okay with that, which, I mean, it hurts, still. But then you have to go, but the people who do love me really love me.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for those people.
Yeah.
And spend more time focusing on those people. So, anyway, Jon Acuff, he was like, don't listen to the one. So you got 99 comments that are saying you're awesome and how much they love your service, and then you focus all your time and energy onto that one.
Yes.
Refocus that, because that negative is so powerful, like you're saying. If we refocus our mind onto the things that we're doing well and just continue to do those well and not focus on that negative, you will succeed.
And if you build your community of friends and followers and fans and customers and whatever, they'll go defend you. I've seen it happen. Like someone will say something on there that's may not be true, or may whatever. Maybe they had a bad day because it was a bad day from every angle. So it didn't matter what was going to happen inside them walking in your doors. It was going to be bad. Mm-hmm. And again, negativity is louder. So that one thing. But when you watch other people go defend you and it's like, oh, all you needed to do was talk to Joe. He would have fixed whatever your problem was, and you didn't even have to answer. Yeah. That's where that's what you wear. That's the spot you want to be in.
Those are the people that you, and we have those people. I mean, I could name off a ton of them right now. Mm-hmm. If somebody said anything about my business, they're like bulldogs. Yeah. And I have to say, hey, thank you, but that was harsh.
Dial it back a little bit.
I wouldn't even said that. But I think, people want to be taken care of and they want to feel like they're taken care of. And I think if you're a business that does that, you'll be successful. Mm-hmm. People are just like, I call it the Walmart mentality. Yeah. They want what they want. They want it now, and they want no excuses, and they want to like cuss you out. And they want you to be okay with them cussing you out and getting crazy. And and I want a refund on everything right this second. Well, man, that's Walmart. Yeah. And that's not a small business. And you just can't meet all those needs. You can you do your
very
best you can.
Yeah.
And you realize, like, nobody comes into iParis. This is the kind of the thing about the business that I'm in, is nobody comes into iParis happy.
Yeah, because they just broke something. Yeah.
And they're already upset, and they're going to have to spend some money to get it fixed. So, we have to remember that, and my team has to remember that. And when people come in, they have a little bit of an attitude, that we just make sure we let them know, hey, it's all right. You're going to be taken care of. This is going to be give me 20 minutes. I'm going to have you back out this door with your device working. It's going to be a fraction of the cost of what it would cost to buy a new phone. Right. And it's all going to be all right. Yeah. We got you. We got you back, baby.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of like our big thing. But
I don't want to go too far into it, but I want to give a shout out to one other product that you sell. This is not a paid iParis ad. I went through probably 10 different glass covers on the front of my phone,
Yeah.
and I'd break them, and I'd break them, and I'd break them. Yes, great, because it didn't break my actual phone. Great, but like I was like, how do these things not last longer than a month on
Right.
the front of my phone? So I went into you to say, I guess I need another glass. This one's busted. And you said, well, and you sold me on this product you have. I can't remember, what's it called?
It's called Protection Pro.
Protection Pro, and it's a film, but it's like, I don't know, it's not thick like the old glass, which you
Right.
would think, and it doesn't show bubbles, which the other glasses always showed bubbles. And I quite literally shut my phone in a car door, like shut my phone. And, like I lost my phone, I could not find it. I looked down and I could see half of it inside the car and half of it outside the car with the
Yeah.
door locked. And I was like, oh no, I broke my phone. And I pull it out and there is not a scratch, there's not a dent, there's not a crack, there's nothing. Phone is fine. At least it's still fine at this moment.
Yep.
And I mean, my wife had one of the old glasses and it broke, and I said, you need to go see Joe.
Yeah, she actually came in, I think, like Friday.
Yeah.
And I put one on for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll pay you later for that commercial. I appreciate that. I should actually hire you to do commercials. Do you do that?
I do.
I should hire you for commercials. No, it's called Protection Pro, and what it is, it's an ultra film. It's actually the best screen protection on the market as far as screen protectors go. So the problem with tempered glass is it does crack. You know, you drop it, it protects your phone, but it breaks itself. So you have to then go replace it. With this Protection Pro, like I said, it's a film. Actually, like NASA uses it on their space shuttles.
Awesome.
And like supercars use it on their cars to protect their cars. So I kind of, for me, I was like, man, if it's good enough for NASA, it's good enough for my phone.
Right.
I mean, it's good enough
Yeah.
for a space shuttle. It's good enough for your phone.
Right. I agree.
So, and I have it on my phone. And I love it. It's
Yeah.
the best stuff ever. And so thanks for giving that a little shout out.
I mean, it is. I mean, it costs a little more than tempered glass, and that. But if I don't have to go buy tempered glass,
Yeah, you're gonna buy 15 tempered glass before
Yeah.
that thing ever decides to
right.
mess up.
So, and like I'm fixing to upgrade my phone, and like my wife and I already talked about the minute I upgrade my phone, it's the same thing with the case. Most people, the minute they buy a new phone, they buy a new case.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna buy a new case and get a new Pro. What is it?
Protection Pro.
Protection Pro on it. Same time.
Yeah.
Because then I don't have to worry about it until the next phone.
Right.
And it's done. So
Yeah.
anyway, I
a
didn't
great
mean to
product.
like totally go sponsored ad on unsponsored ad on you guys. That was a really cool story of something that actually happened and it was connected and da, 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 da. Joe, thanks you so much for being on my podcast.
Man, it's been a pleasure, Broadway.
It was fun.
It was fun, man.
I love hearing people's stories. It's just
Yeah, mine was kind of all over the place, but
actually though, and I didn't jump in too much. There was a lot of similarities to yours that's to mine.
really.
Especially being as a kid, I felt, and people can go back and listen to my podcast, but I felt very much like I was lost. I was very much a loner. I felt like people didn't understand me, but at the same time felt like I didn't understand myself. So I didn't know I didn't know what direction to go in.
Yeah.
So, and my parents, they weren't in the same situation as yours, but I think they struggled with having to deal with me as well. Like I was a creative person and I didn't know I was a creative person. So I was depressed and miserable a lot. And it wasn't my parents' fault and it wasn't school's fault, even though at that stage of life I wanted to say it was school's fault.
Yeah.
It's just I didn't know where to go. So I grew up in the same similarities, and there were a lot of things that I related to that you talked about.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? You think that you're the only person that's like that.
Yeah.
You're the only person that's going through that. Like nobody in small town Paris could go through the same thing that I feel. But really, man, probably more so. Even probably the people who look like they have it all together in high school,
Yes.
or even into their adult life. Man, I bet they face the same insecurities and the same desires that we all face and all want, which is to be loved and to be a part of a community that loves them back.
Yes.
And because we're created for communicating and communication and to have relationship. And so
And the one thing I didn't do back then is I didn't invest myself in anything.
I didn't either, except for band. That was it. And that was just kind of even another way to just kind of like hide myself between
Right.
125 other people.
Exactly. So, and I know I've said this on this podcast, and I know I've even said it on this exact podcast. I can't encourage people enough to go get invested
Yeah.
in something.
Yeah.
And I prefer something that's going to build our community, build Paris, but just find something that you can invest in. That's something in your direction. I'm creative. You could be, a farmer.
Yeah.
Go out and get invested in something that's outside of your farm.
Yeah. Just move. Just do something.
Yeah, just move. I love that. Just move. But thank you for being on this podcast. What
Man,
a
it was
great
a pleasure,
podcast.
dude.
All right, guys. Every Monday, new podcasts. If you haven't yet, go follow my Facebook group where I give announcements. I put up pictures. I put up little small clips so that you can see who the new guests are coming for the next week. It's also a great place to communicate with me if you have any questions or if you have any ideas about the podcast or if you want to sponsor the podcast. I would love to have sponsors for this podcast. I'm so excited that people, again, support something like Joe talked about, support something that I'm doing so much that they actually want to sponsor the podcast. That's amazing. Speaking of sponsorship, thank you, Scott Kennedy from State Farm, for sponsoring this podcast. That's so amazing. Go check him out. Go get a quote. He's going to give $10 to Meals on Wheels, which is amazing. I love those guys over there. I've done a couple things. I've done a video with them. I've gone and toured their whole facility with Liam, my son, who has a little YouTube channel that he does. What a great place. And yeah, that's the end of this podcast. We'll see you next week.